Yeah, I hope my screen is visible and you can see the content clearly. Okay, please confirm once. And from now, I'll time and again check whether I'm audible and this session is already recording. Hope I'm audible.
Yes,
Please
yes.
confirm. Yeah, thanks
Yeah,
for confirmation.
yeah. I
Yeah,
thought you were waiting for
so
someone. Yeah.
no. We already waited for enough. Means 8-7 until 8-7. I was asked to wait because I respect all the time zones here. People are spending or caring their time in their night times as well. I respect their time. Okay. Without any further ado, let's start. Uh, Hi team, my name is SK, and I have almost all 12 plus years of IT experience, which is segregated into functional testing of initial. When I joined the IT companies, I worked as a function tester initially for 4 years. Then, being an MCA postgraduate, I turned and as a continuous learning is my internal behavior. So I incline towards into technical aspects of the work. So I moved into Java development, and initially I was given a chance of writing unit test cases for all the controller different MVC layers of the different project assignments. Then slowly moved into Jax as backend API development, then into uh, uh, RESTful web services majorly, a little bit of SOAP experience as well, but mostly RESTful web services. All the projects are into agile model since 10 years plus. And I worked in Spring Boot microservices, backend development, function testing, a little bit automation testing of microservices as well. And currently, I am working on a project assignment for an insurance domain, which is of the work involves function testing of the backend API, RESTful API, as well as the automation of those API using the existing REST assured framework. So this is the current project assignment, and before this, I worked on an OTT platform for which there are existing some 90 to 100 APIs are there. So for all those APIs, we have devised a framework to do the performance testing of it. As it is OTT platform, performance testing is a must. So we were asked to devise a framework and uh, test the performance test the existing APIs of this OTT platform using Gatling as the open source framework. Yeah, while in the technical journey in my IT industry, I have already worked with a little bit of DevOps hands-on along with cloud integration using GCP and AWS. So these are all the different hands-on knowledge opportunities that I got until today. And what is the asset that is helping me in all these days until now and in future is the continuous learning within myself. So this is what it is helping me to welcome many opportunities. And enough of boosting myself. uh, I just want to give some awareness of who I am, because we are all new in interacting with each other. Okay. And I have devised this course content keeping in mind of all the IT experience or hands-on that I have. Along with I have refined uh, and added or modified some of the existing course content to match with the current industry expectation. So uh, what is the expectation from this course? So just a second. Please close it. Yeah, so what is the expectation from this course? Again, unmute. Yeah. So all of us came with different backgrounds. Okay, some of you might be working in a different technical stack and want to move into API world. Okay, some of you are completely new into IT industry. I'm assuming. Okay, because my previous learners are like this, and some of you are willing to understand more on API front. Okay, so keeping them all those different kinds of mindsets in my mind, I have devised this course content. Okay. And without further ado, we'll start. And as it is a first demo session, we'll try to understand in a overall bird's eye view what we are going to discuss in this next 1.5 month of duration. Okay. And I forgot to mention another point. In all these, during my MCA days as well, in my IT career, people find me as a good mentor, as well as they understood that I'm passionate towards teaching. So if I understand a content in my mind, I am able to clearly express it into the other person's brain without hesitation. So I'm very good at knowledge sharing, not only in course perspective, as well as in my current project and previous projects as well. Okay, I don't hesitate to share the knowledge that I have, and I continuously learn. So these are the two things, positives that I bring to this course, and I hope these positives will help us understanding all these contents. So without further ado, let's start. So I hope this font is visible. If someone confirms, I'll continue. Else, I would have already created a PDF out of it. So anything is fine. Let me know if this is small. Okay. Yeah.
Excuse me, Sonu.
Yeah. Please, please,
One of
please.
my colleague has joined, but he is not able to listen you.
What about others?
Yeah, it is
Others.
audible to me.
Yeah,
Audible to
it's
me.
Okay.
fine
So
now.
yeah. So in
Okay.
this case, multiple persons can able to listen me. One person could not. So ask that person or colleague kindly rejoin, or use a different browser, or use a different mic altogether. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Please,
Fine. Yeah.
please let them know.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Yes, team. So we are a team now. Uh, so in the first session, we will try to understand the difference between API and before we going our jump start. People are complete. How many of us are completely new into web services world? May I know? Shall I take it as a no? All are new to web services.
There are some
No, no, a
hands.
little bit of experience do have and testing, but yeah, worked on APIs as well, on web services as well.
Great, great. Yeah. So all these, so why web services are prominent these days? Because you take any, you name any website, name any website. Every website will use some other web services. For example, Twitter.com. And before that, let me open developer tools. To open this home page, before it even refreshes this and brings this content, see how many web services are getting invoked, and see the different types of web services here. And yeah, and not only this, you take Spotify, any platform, any platform. So next question arises is, why people are using web services? Yeah, we'll go one by one. We'll go one by one. uh, where are developer tools? Why it isn't there? Yeah, some lag is there, but yeah, as you have already witnessed, so many web services for this home screen, and different kinds of HTTP webs, and different types of backend implementation has been carried out to just display this page. Okay. So this is what brings us the importance of web services these days. Take any website, you name any website of your choice, one or other layer will definitely use web services, because it gathered that much importance. Okay. Okay, let's continue. So you see, Spotify also have these many web services options. Get it different. We'll see one by one what these are in upcoming sessions, and understand headers, etc., etc. Let's focus on the course content for now. Okay. So in the first session, we will focus on what is an API. API means application programming interface. Okay. Uh, I don't I don't believe in mugging up the abbreviations or acronyms, but for your awareness, application programming interface. Okay. So API is a set of methods. Okay. If anyone have any programming background, you will create a method, and you will call that method somewhere. Okay. API, in a rough idea, you can consider it as a bunch of methods in different packages which will do the work. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are existing methods, like for example, there is a library called Apache Commons. Okay, it has datetime utils is one of the utility there. So once you, for example, you are given an assignment in one of your current projects or in upcoming projects that get me the date and time in this particular format. Do you have to write the code? Yeah, you can write the code, but there are already existing API devised by industry standard hands-on developers. Okay, technical very knowledgeable people. They have already devised a framework and created a artifact as a jar out of it, and all these different implementations are created as methods. So these different methods kept in different packages given as an artifact like a jar is nothing but an API. Okay, so API means we will call something to do our task. Okay, we don't have to hand create date time utils and do the logic ourselves. Rather, we'll focus on our business logic of our current project, and we will depend upon that particular third party library to get the job done along with our current business project implementation. Okay, so this is nothing but an API. So we'll focus and understand more on it, and we'll in the next session we'll understand more on API. What is an API? How it look like, how to access it, and what is the difference between API and web service. Okay, web services are of different types. So see, as of now you understood that an API is reusing the existing code. Okay, like that. You can in simple terms understand an API as reusing already existing code. Similarly, there is a matching concept for web service as well. So what is a web service? So someone has already built up the code and deployed it and make it available somewhere as an open source repository or open source library. All we have to do is call their API by following the what is it rules. Okay, by following the rules. So if it is a if it is this particular get a date time, so what I have to pass to it in such a way that it will give me the response that I want. Okay, so if we follow this particular contract, and that, then you can use that third party API. Okay, so in upcoming session I have to understand more on it, I have created a, a session on its own. Let me quickly search for Twitter or Spotify. Yeah, this is the on session 18th. We will discuss on Twitter API walkthrough. Okay, so let me focus here. Okay, so now we'll understand the difference between API and web service in this session, and the different benefits that the why people are going to APIs. Okay, be it SOAP. Okay, simple object access protocol. Some 10 years before it is aggressively being used, but slowly, it RESTful web services being an architecture, it gained more importance, and still there are projects those use SOAP web services. I don't deny that, but it has its own constraints. Okay, it has its own you, XSD schema, etc. To access simple thing, we have to go through a lot of wrapping up of unwrapping layers. Okay, so that's why, and RESTful web services came into avoiding this particular thing, and hence it is gained importance for the past 10-12 years. Okay, so industry is currently RESTful web service implementation, etc. And in this course we will test more 99% we will focus on RESTful web services function testing, a little bit hands-on development as well, because I planned the course in such a way. I'll come to that point, but let me go in a sequential manner. Then we will understand. Now we understood what are the different benefits of the web services. Then we will understand the types of enterprise architecture. So there are multiple types of enterprise architecture in developing of the different applications. Three-tier monolithic architecture, distributed service-oriented architecture, microservices, request-driven, event-driven. Like this, we will get an overview of understanding. Okay, why this understanding is important? Because we have to aware of how applications are getting developed, and where our API current API knowledge sits in this particular different types of enterprise architecture. Okay, then we will understand the difference between monolith and microservice architecture. Okay, since 2015 or 14, microservices starts its boom. Okay, we'll understand the difference between a monolith. What is a monolith? What are the pros and cons of it? And what exactly is a monolith? Then we will understand what exactly is microservice architecture. So why there is a need to go for microservice architecture when someone is already there and getting the job done. So then we'll understand the different types of web service communications types like SOAP, REST, XML, RPC in a high level. And at the end of the session, we'll try to understand what are the different applications those welcome microservices architecture and how are they getting benefited. Okay. Yeah. So with that understanding, we'll understand more on our function testing basics. So in this particular session, we'll understand what is Postman actually. So when this particular developer tools is already there, what is the need for Postman? Okay, what exactly is Postman? And we'll walk through the basic structure of the Postman. Okay, what is collections, APIs, environments, mock servers, monitors, etc., and different workspaces, and how to create a particular collection here, how to add request into the collection, and what are the different types of variables, what is the need for variable. Okay. And when it comes to, let's take a simple example. Mm, yeah, not just theory, but so what is this? Just a walkthrough initially to understand. So someone of us might have already worked with Postman in their current project assignments and previous project assignments, but people are there who are willing to know and who don't know Postman. So for them, I'll walk through the complete Postman and its functionalities of what each module is here. Okay, not everything, but 90% of the modules what we day in and day out will use. Okay, we don't use 100% of everything. Day in and day out we use those particular repeatedly used modules. So, and which are very very important. So without that we cannot proceed working with the tool or framework or knowledge. So that kind of walkthrough I'll give on Postman and the capabilities of Postman. And next we'll understand JSON. What is JSON? JavaScript object notation. So why is it famous, and how to construct a JSON hands on ourselves. Okay, for example, if there is a requirement and if we are asked to create a JSON, how to create a JSON. Okay, so by the way, what is JSON, what is the need for the JSON? Okay, and why it is useful and how to use it, all those in internal details we will try to understand in this particular session. Then we will delve into the difference between SOAP and REST. Hey, or hey SK. Okay, I revealed my name, it's fine. So if you can focus on understanding why REST is getting important, you have to understand the drawbacks that SOAP brings. So, and SOAP is also important, but the agile project methodologies or implementations asked, given, put forward and asked before us. So faster implementations, faster workable implementations. So for that, we have to do our tasks quickly and efficiently, effectively. So uh, for that, REST is a architectural standard that came forward some from 2010, I believe, or 2008. So from then, industry started inclining more towards RESTful web services. So we'll try to understand the difference between SOAP and REST. Then we'll understand what is meant by statelessness. Okay, this is very very important, and what are the advantages of it, and what is the relationship between REST and statelessness. Okay, REST being an architecture standard, how it relates to statelessness, and what is HTTP and statelessness, how they are internally related. Okay. Then as we already have an understanding of Postman, then we will delve into query and path parameters. And so you can right away ask me, what is hey SK, what is query and path parameters? So if you take this particular okay, so control plus to zoom in. Okay, so this id is having its own importance. It is known as path parameter. It has its own identification of representing or dealing with. So this is a path parameter. Similarly, if you go through some other API, uh, you can understand query parameters as well. We'll go slowly one by one. Okay, so that's it with respect to Postman, and means understanding the topic and relating the topic where it is being actually used. Okay, so that's how I'll involve my knowledge sharing. Then what are the different headers, request and response? If you go to the previous Spotify or Twitter, you could take any of the API that got invoked. So here, if you focus on the right hand side, you can understand these are the response headers. There is so much bunch of information that our browser brings back to us, guys. So see, request headers are there, different response headers are there. So how the request, what is the JSON is being sent to the server, what is the server that sends back to the client the response, etc. By the way, I asked you earlier a question, when browser is there, when developer tools are there, what is the need for Postman? Because we can, so if it is a get request, we can invoke it, we can invoke the get request straight away from the browser, but that is not the same case with different kinds of requests like post, put, etc. So for that we need a client. So what is your browser? By the way, your browser is a client. Okay. um, Without further ado, I will just tell the client service architecture in just 1 minute. Okay. So for example, um, so this is the client and this is the server. Your browser is sitting here, so your Mozilla Firefox is sitting here, and this Spotify server is, being it a on-premise server or a cloud instance which is devised in multiple locations or data centers. So it is here, but you are sending a request from one place to other place. So you are sending a request from your client, which is your browser, to the server which is situating somewhere in California or South Africa or Australia, according to the locations that the user is sending the request. So this is a server which will request for information. By giving something, it will authenticate itself and ask the server, hey server, I want this particular information. Server authenticates that particular user or the request in specific. Okay. And user through the request. Okay. And sends the response back to the asked client. Okay. This is how the client and server implementation carries on. Okay. So we will try to understand. So similarly, what are the request headers, what are the different response headers, what we what is it, day in and day out will use. And in upcoming sessions also we'll create headers for authentication and authorization. And for for example, without me logging in, I cannot listen Spotify songs, no. So for that, SK has to log into this particular system, and he has given another authorization token or authentication token. So the different types of implementations are there, we'll discuss one by one. And from then onwards, with this particular token, he or she can access the Spotify and listen to the songs. Okay. So that's how client and server architecture works, and the different headers, request and response parameters, and what is CRUD operations, create, read, update, delete, and how they relate with the HTTP verbs. Okay. By the way, REST heavily or 100% rely on HTTP. What is HTTP? Hypertext Transfer Protocol, where all our internet runs. Okay, you see here, I cannot zoom in the URL, but you see here HTTP, HTTPS. Okay, so wherever HTTP is there, we can devise REST there. Okay, RESTful framework there. Okay, cool. So we'll try to understand the relationship between different HTTP verbs and the different CRUD operations that actually go behind the scenes in the actual development. Okay, just in an overview. Okay, that's it. Why overview? If there are some genuine learners who are more inclined towards development, yeah, you can ask me how it is getting implemented, etc. But as it is majorly focused upon functional testing of API world, so I will give a just brief in the beginning of how it is being implemented. Because without you and me knowing the backend implementation, testing it is not complete. Okay, that's what I believe. So I will provide enough information for you to understand what you are testing and how it is getting implemented in the backend. Okay, that's what we will discuss in this particular session. Then we will understand about different HTTP protocols, HTTP protocol basics, and what happens actually in the background. And there are some unsafe and safe methods, not just theory. We'll try to understand in conceptual ways. Okay, and I can show you one or two demo as well, why it is safe, why it is not safe. Okay, and there are different HTTP verbs like put, post, delete options, etc., etc., and out of which some are safe to implement, some are not safe to implement. If something is not safe, you have to be more careful with it, no? So that's the intention of understanding which HTTP verbs are CRUD backend implementations and HTTP methods are safe, which are not safe. Okay, if it is safe, we can ask again and again. If it is not safe, we have to understand how to deal with it, and we have to be little careful while executing it, because if unknowingly if you execute a method, data will be deleted from the backend DB. Okay, so actually developers have to precautionally they have to implement. If they miss, that doesn't mean that we should not take care. So that's what we will understand about safe and unsafe methods here, and all about HTTP status codes. There are a bunch of HTTP status codes here. For example, if you go and search just Google is a god these days. HTTP status codes. This also involves few of the requests, API requests. So you go and try to understand. We'll delve a little bit more deep into understanding the different client different status codes. How are they segregated? For example, what are we don't have to bother much or try to delve much on information status codes. In real time industry, trust me, we don't even focus on 3xx. We'll focus majorly, and we don't have to focus 2xx because it is already a successful scenario. So we'll understand 2xx in successful status codes, the client related status codes and server related status codes. So if we are very good in understanding of successful status codes, client and server status codes, because this is a way that client is telling something to server. Hey server, I am facing this particular difficulty, please acknowledge. This is the way of server telling to client, hey client, this is what issue that I find at server side, you please take care. I'm sending the server this particular server code to you. You please take care in your next request, you rectify it and send it back to me. That is how, through the server HTTP server codes or HTTP status codes, client and server will interact, and will delve a little bit more deeper into understanding successful client and server status codes. That's what we deal in session 5. And next we'll continue understanding postman request collections, variables, and different tests, pre-request scripts and tests. What it is? ASK, what is pre-request script and what are tests? If you go to postman and control zoom out once, for every of your request there is a tab called pre-request and there is a tab called tests. Okay, so how to move it back? Yeah. So these are handful or snippets, those are handy for us. Okay, so how to create a global variable. So what it is happening, so not just create, this is for us to jumpstart initially, but in future sessions we will try to understand more and understand the concepts those are required for us to work happily uh, in our IT project assignments, or to start with you in understanding how to use them or how to leverage this particular knowledge. Okay, uh, from then onwards it is our continuous effort to understand further, and we can discuss doubts as well. Okay, I might miss something. Once you ask a doubt, that doesn't mean that I don't reply to you. Just give me 1 or 2 days or maximum one day, depending upon my project work, which is hectic, and I will definitely come back. As I told you, I am a continuous learner. There are multiple topics that I am not also aware of, but I don't hesitate to learn them and to add them to my existing technical stack. Okay, so that's how we share and grow collectively. So good. So this is what we'll discuss. What is prerequest script? What are these particular things? What is going on in the backend? And how to understand this? How to leverage this particular understanding? Okay, prerequest scripts and tests. Okay, that's what we'll discuss in this particular session. Request collections, variable tests, etc. Then we'll understand what is JSON path. Okay. Uh, so now that we understood JSON, it is fair enough to understand what is meant by JSON path and how to construct JSON path and what is schema, and how to validate it, why schema is important. So schema word came, so now I'm telling schema is plays a crucial role in SOAP simple object access protocol related web service implementation. Schema is very very important there. Okay, so and with respect to restful, there is not too much heavy lifting that to be done with respect to schema, but we will try to understand what is schema, what is the role of it, and how to validate the schema, okay, by creating some JSON path expressions. Okay, we'll have a hands-on here, not just theory of what JSON path is. We'll create JSON path expressions and we'll try to fetch the data what server is giving as per our needs. Okay, that's what we'll discuss here. Then we'll try to understand creating and publishing API documentation. Then comes one of the interesting concepts called what is mocking. What actually mocking is. For example, um, I'm relying on some developer implementation to test, but that implementation is not yet ready. That doesn't mean that client will wait. Okay, as our sprint continues, client has an expectation on what to test, etc. And in this 2 weeks duration of the sprint, if the implementation is not yet ready, so we'll create a mock of that particular implementation by discussing with the development team, and we'll continue upon that mock implementation, and we'll test on the mock implementation until the actual implementation is ready. So we are not stopping our work, rather uh, we are routing our work into creating a mock implementation out of it and test that particular implementation. Okay, so then we will understand this is what mocking is on a high level understanding to you. So when we require mocking for an API, and what is mock server, and how to set up a mock server, and how to monitor the API collections through Postman, we'll try to understand here. You have a concept called mock servers. We'll create a mock server, and we'll spin that particular mock server and try to access that mock server by sending the request to it. Okay, that's what we'll discuss on it, and we'll monitor the existing API collections as well. Okay, by leveraging the monitors feature in Postman. Then we'll work with SOAP API requests with Postman. Okay, so some of the projects, some of the legacy implementation might definitely, okay, my current projects also definitely will use SOAP web services, but to a limited extent. Okay, there are already existing web services which are already developed and heavily tested in SOAP. Depending upon the timelines, people might not migrate that particular API into RESTful web services API. So yeah, there will be some what is it, situations that we have to test SOAP web services as well. Now, how to test them, so that is the intention of this particular session. So, and then we'll understand collection runner Newman. There is a module, node module, and what Newman brings us, and what is HTML extra, another module, what it brings us, and what is faker library. For example, fake means what, uh, showing something that the asked resource doesn't have. So faking also is the same thing. For example, as it is agile methodology, so we don't have means, if we have to heavily test on one particular feature or one particular API, it seems reasonable to create data quickly, okay, to test. So for that, we can rely upon this faker library. For example, we can use the third party dependency which is already integrated with Postman, and we can able to create the first name, last name, mobile number. All these details are already, means we can create country code, etc. We can save it to the backend database and we can fetch it. So saving the particular data to backend database takes time, isn't it? So we can avoid the time using the already existing faker library implementations which comes bundled with Postman. We'll understand further more on it, and we'll try to understand the API lifecycle, the different roles the people will play: publisher, manager, and the consumer. Okay, what are these? A little bit theory session, but I will try myself more focus on actual hands-on relating or actual understanding concepts as well while teaching this session as well. Then we will try to understand fiddler, what is fiddler, and what is wire mock. Okay, we'll understand these tools in this particular session. And the intention is, if any of your projects work or in future deal with these particular tools, you should be well aware of how to work with fiddler and wire mock. Okay, and yeah, so 99% projects will use Postman as their tool, but that doesn't mean that we should be aware of other tools as well. So wiremark and fiddler are some good choices for our learning. Then we'll understand very important concept, API chaining. Okay, what is chaining of API basically? Okay, what is the chain of API? Can anyone tell? Chaining. So Chaining means, for example, understand that there is a Oracle or MySQL database sitting somewhere. Okay, database means which for the newcomers, it stores the data. Okay, just think in that particular word. Okay, it stores information that is being given to it. Okay, in a high, very very English level. Okay, um, so API chaining, ISK sends a request to an API, and that API saves some data, and SK sends access another API to fetch that particular data, and another API, invokes another API to update that particular data, and invokes another API to delete particular data, and invoke other API to fetch only partial content of the existing big chunk of data. So all these things are interrelated. No, for example, create an employee, get the created employee details, update the some of the fields of the employee, or modify some of the fields of the employee, and if there is a similar already duplicated employee which is unknowingly saved in the database, yeah, we can delete the duplicate employee record from the database. So all these are, doesn't seem like a chain of actions that we will deal with. So that's what it is, nothing but chaining. And accessing or invoking the APIs as a chain is nothing but API chaining, and we'll try to understand what it is. But by now I already told what it is. We will delve to internally into understanding how to do API chaining with Spotify API, and how to create a mock implementation of the Spotify API through wiremock, and how to test that mock implementation. Okay, so this is what I told, the developer testing method, what is it, earlier communication. So until the developer implementation is not ready, we don't have to stop. Okay, once it is ready, we can point to the exact implementation of that API, but until that it is ready, we can create a mock out of it, and test. Okay, so it is API means contract only, no? So until the actual implementation ready, we can just simulate or mock that particular implementation, and how to test it. So we'll do our hands on here as well. Along with the previous sessions, we'll do a proper hands on API chaining, and chaining of the API through mocking. Okay, cool. Then this is a very interesting session to me. I am also currently upgrading my knowledge on this. So what are chai assertions? So for example, so pm dot, for example, if you just type pm dot. Okay, so from where these are coming: collection variables, cookies, environment, etc etc etc. So as I told you, in the first session, we'll discuss upon API and web service, no? So something is already there, boss. You have to use that something by providing the values to it, and getting the response, and using it in your business implementation. So you don't have to hand create everything from the scratch. If you're interested and have time, you definitely will do that. But agile project methodologies, time is important constraint. So Postman team also have thought of the same. See, collection variables, so cookies, environment, from where these are coming? So some might be they can create, but some they rely upon some third party libraries. Okay, so such third party libraries are, mm, here we are, yeah. So chai assertions library, and lodash javascript utility library. Okay, and we'll try to leverage these libraries to validate the API requests and responses, not just sending the request and response, not just observing through our human eyes. Rather, we'll try to understand how to test these, or how to assert means, might be fancy term. Assert means, in simple terms, test it, what it is. Until some 10 lines, what is being implemented, in the 11th line we are asserting, means we are testing it. Okay, so that's what assertion means. So for that, there is an existing library called chai and lodash. I challenge myself to delve too much, or delve a little bit more into understanding chai assertions library. That's why I included here chai assertions library, and we'll try to understand lodash postman. So yeah, so we'll try to understand lodash as well as the chai assertions library, and how to download it, and how to include it. It's already bundled with postman, so we don't have to download it again. Okay, but in other implementations in your project, if they want to download, yeah, here is the way. Okay, so yeah, we'll try to understand chai assertions library and the lodash, and how to assert the requests and responses, not just sending them, but how to assert them. This is what assertions in high level, but we'll try to understand a little bit further as well. Okay, cool. So that's what we'll discuss in this particular session. Then we'll try to understand media type formatters and very important concept called authentication and authorization. What is authentication, what is authorization, how they differ, and what are the different kinds of authentication that that industry is kindly, I mean, currently focusing on. And means I myself worked on basic authentication, API key based authentication, little bit of OAuth in POCs, and a little bit of JWT. Okay, that we'll discuss in the upcoming session. So all these different, what is authentication, what is authorization, how they differ, where they actually play a role, how to leverage these two concepts practically by understanding different types of authentication and authorization mechanisms. Okay, so we'll basic digest, form based, API key based. Okay, so SK doesn't work on form based or digest. That doesn't mean that you should not know it, no. So yeah, let's understand in this as well and add to our current technical stack. So that's what authentication and authorization I'll focus on. By so this OAuth specifically, as it is uh, playing a key role here in current trends. Okay, what is OAuth means, in simple terms I will tell something. For example, you just install some third party application, name something like Spotify, for example. Okay, why not, why to discuss some other thing where exactly same thing is before our eyes. So Spotify is there, no. So to log into Spotify 10 to 12 years before, you have to register it. There are some 20 to 25 fields are there: first name, last name, address, etc., etc. So we all have to fill all those details, then only we are a registered user. And once we are registered, we have to log in to Spotify. Now these days, as business or the ask from the end users is very quick and rapidly changing, you know. So back end development teams also and implemented and leveraged their own ways. So OAuth is one such way. Okay, OAuth, okay, that is a protocol. OAuth and OAuth 2 in the recent times. So for example, I don't so SK doesn't give his details completely to this particular third party application that Spotify is asking. Rather, he or she can give only the limited details to continue with the logging of that particular user into, means bringing that particular user into Spotify system. So what details are enough for Spotify to authenticate SK or Anita or Sharmila? So only first means the name of the person. If marketing is there, mobile number is there, mobile number should be there, which is enabled with OTP. And some minimal details are required. So they doesn't have to deal with aggressive complete details of the user. So those minimal details, this particular third party system Spotify will bring from the OAuth server. So Google has an OAuth server, and as this particular user is already being long standing with Google, so 15 years, and I have my Gmail account since 15 years. Okay, why can't Spotify bring the minimal details uh, by accessing the OAuth server? Okay, so that's the concept. We only bring the limited details and bring the user to the system. Okay, to quickly bring the users to the system. That's the intention of OAuth and OAuth standard, and we'll discuss on OAuth 2 through Spotify hands-on or Spotify Dropbox, depending upon the feasibility on that day. We'll discuss either Dropbox or Spotify. Okay, so not just understanding theory, bringing it to actual hands-on. Let us fail, but we'll learn it. Okay, we'll learn and improve our knowledge base. Okay, that's what we'll discuss on this. Okay, don't hesitate to fail, rather learn continuously. So next we'll understand JSON. People these just call it as JOT, but JWT stands for JSON Web Token, and how what is the need for it, and how it is being segregated. So you can go to JOT, JWT, and there are three, if I'm not wrong, if I could recollect correctly, there are three uh, things which are bundled with JWT. So this is an encoded string which represents in the right hand side. Once you decode it, this is what it is. Okay, this is the first subject or subscriber ID, I think, name, and IAT, I'm not sure what this is, some location details I believe, and some verified signature. We'll understand what encoding and decoding, how it happens, and create. So this is how JWT. So all these right hand side details are being encoded here. If you just change one thing, see, just I added a single character or single exclamation mark. Okay, I think nothing should work, but let's see. Let's add something else here, some numbers here. So as this JWT encoded string is not proper anymore, as it is invalid signature, it doesn't retrieve the particular right hand side user data. So that's how it is being encoded, and these are the different sections. We will discuss more on it on that particular session. So JWT and how to work with it, and basic hands-on with JWT. Okay, in Postman if possible. Okay, then we'll understand the Twitter API and Spotify API walkthrough. Okay, I think in another few minutes we'll, depending upon your time zones, I will wrap up the session. But if you have time, let me know. I will cover the remaining sessions also. But the intention here is Twitter API, Spotify API. So what is the intention of creating this particular day session is, this will give you enough hands to work or get hands on in your upcoming or means shifting your project from web into API. So that kind of knowledge also, this will create a jump start to you. Okay, to you guys. Why that is important? Because Twitter has, means, in real time all projects have the same thing, same API collections, etc., etc. Once you try to understand how to work with Twitter API or some real-time Spotify open source APIs, these are all open source APIs, no? So knowledge is there before us. It is we have to use it. Okay, so in real time also there are, for example, an OTT platform, play video, a particular API is there. So for that, so what is that particular API? Is it a post API? So why post is used? What I have to give in auth header? Okay, other in other authorization. Okay, so what are the different other headers? Those are already there with that particular implementation. What is the body that server is asking me to send? So any any validations that I will do, and what is once I invoke, as of now I don't have the API or authentication mechanism set up, so I cannot, even though I click on send, as SK is not a valid user, it will give 401 other unauthorized, and this is a basic error response. Okay, so we'll try to understand by API, by walking through this particular existing API. So in real-time projects also 90% we will do the same thing. Okay, so once you get a good hold on this particular Twitter API or Spotify, any get me any other name also. But once you have a decent understanding on how to work with them, okay, for which particular request, what I have to provide, what I have to validate, what information that I have to seek, what to assert from the response, okay, how to build a request, okay, what is a query, what is path parameter, okay, okay, and is there any other API that involves the current API? Any chain is there? Okay, for example, a play video is there. Before playing the video, I should be subscribed into that particular system, and is there any other API in which there is a response ID which I have to bring it to my current API while executing, while invoking this particular API? So that particular real-time knowledge, this particular session will give us that particular understanding. Okay, and then we'll try to integrate. As of now, we are good or decent enough with Postman real-time, all the scenarios. Now integrate the Postman API test with Jenkins continuous integration platform. Then version control, all these days I worked day in and day out along with other technologies, Git prominently, GitHub, you name anything, GitHub, GitLab, okay, Bitbucket, all these things I have worked, and very familiar. I believe having a hands-on with CLI will give us more awareness and knowledge. Okay, once you know things, then onwards you can focus on leveraging through IDE all these Git commands automatically through mouse clicks. But initially you have to be a little bit hands-on with what the concepts and what is the ask of that particular concept. Okay, so we'll create a repository, and we'll connect with that repository through SSH way and HTTPS way, and we'll do pull, push, merge, okay, commit, okay, all these things I will try to understand in this particular session, hands-on. So then we'll run these API tests in GitHub using GitHub Actions. Okay, so like Jenkins as continuous integration, Git also GitHub. So Git and GitHub are not 100% same. Okay, I'll tell the difference on that day. Okay, so then we'll understand how to run these particular APIs, run the API tests through GitHub Actions. Okay, then these I feel somehow little bit advanced to us, but keep these as, even though you don't understand these 100%, just listen and listen to these sessions multiple times, because all upcoming years, all the or most of the project assignments will, not all, sorry, most of the project assignments will shift or migrate to microservices architecture. Okay, so if in future if you have to work on microservice architecture, these particular three sessions will give you a jump start in understanding what are the different concepts of microservices, how to leverage the existing microservice architecture, and in a high level, what are the different microservices concepts, like what is API gateway, what is API registry, what is API registry. Let me recollect from 2019 knowledge. API registry, yeah. API registry, API gateway, configuration management through GitHub, circuit breaker. So all the different patterns are there. So microservices evolved all these years, since 2014 and 15, I believe. It evolved and adding so many concepts on its own. So I last worked on microservices in 2019 and 2020. So I will try to recollect and give a not just theory kind of explanation here. Okay, then we'll try to understand the microservice messaging implementations, which are synchronous messaging as well as asynchronous messaging using REST and GraphQL. We don't do GraphQL hands-on, rather I will give a jump start to understand GraphQL quickly, and rest as we are already discussing until in all these course. Okay, and continues to discuss later also. So asynchronous messaging, what is Kafka, what is MQTT, and what are the different by now you should definitely understand what JSON and XML etc are. Just will just give a high level walkthrough. Okay, then we'll try to understand what is OpenAPI, what is Swagger. Okay, so the code is there, but documentation of code is necessary, no? So SK works in that project, but he might be asked to work in a different project. And let me quickly know other team member name. Nash is there. Okay, Nash comes into the project, so day one. So by seeing the code, okay, clean code practices say that we should write the code. uh, we should write the code. The code our implementation should be our commenting, yeah, but there are some scenarios where comments are necessary. So through that comments and through that existing documentation, Nash will try to understand by debugging, slowly he will try to understand the existing framework. Similarly for APIs also, some documentation is necessary, no? So that kind of documentation will try to understand through Swagger. Okay, so all the contracts through Swagger will try to understand. Okay, then this is not at all necessary, but I somehow feel that once we try to understand uh, creating a basic backend API through Spring Boot. Okay, Spring Boot is the latest framework from Spring suite of existing frameworks, which will mostly suitable for agile project implementations to quickly bootstrap a particular project and create a framework. So client won't wait for you and me, for 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 2 months down the time to create a particular service. So he or she, their team wants a workable code which is iteratively built and quickly adapt for the changes. Okay, for that Spring Boot is being chosen. If it is a Java stack, Spring Boot is being chosen aggressively these days. Okay, so we'll create a backend Spring Boot web services. I believe H2 is enough for it, and if not, we'll create a MySQL. I think MySQL should be there here. Where is MySQL? Yeah, it is there. We'll see on that day whether H2 is a what is it? H2 database is go hand in hand with Spring Boot. Okay, so we'll either work with H2 or MySQL database by creating a backend API, and we have a hands-on. For example, all these days you are working with until now. Uh, so let's go in time machine for session 25. So until session 24, we have worked a little bit hands-on, more aggressively into Postman by invoking the APIs. No, but what actually happens in the backend if you invoke a particular API is what is my intention to add this particular session. Once you understand what exactly happens at the backend, no, then you can test effectively. Okay, just for a holistic understanding of API implementation, not at all required for a beginner, but I put my efforts on it as well to give a holistic understanding of what implementation goes in backend, what to test, how we test. Okay, cool. So then we'll try to understand the different this is real time. I will bring a few of the project experiences that I have. What are the different application environments? So if you just go to uh, twitter.com, this doesn't came all of a sudden like magic, no. So it has its own application environments like development environment, um, what is it, development environment is there, QA is there, integration environment is there, uh, staging or pre-prod, okay, that environment is there, and UAT is there. Then comes your production environment, which you access through twitter.com. So we'll try to understand all the different environments, how what are these environments for, what happens in each of these environments, and what is the developer workflow by already leveraging the knowledge that we have through Git, pushing, merging, deploying the feature to higher environments. So these are the different things that a developer will do. Let's try to understand further on it. And tester workflow, this is the developer workflow, okay, majorly in most of our projects. And tester workflows, okay. So what are sanity tests, what are smoke tests, what are integration tests, how user acceptance test is going on, what is it with sign off. All these particular real time knowledge sharing will have a interactive session like other sessions in this day. So and by that, now you came from either for a few of the team members have zero knowledge, on APIs, let's assume. So zero knowledge, he or she understood about APIs theoretically, conceptual wise. Then they delve into Postman, then they delve more into RESTful, then they delve by integrating these concepts, then they understand more into Postman basics. Then they understood different other API basics and a little bit other third party tools as well, other tools to work, and how to chain, how to work Postman in and out in majority of the work scenarios, and how to use chai accessions library, authentication, authorization, etc., etc. Now they understood microservices, high level concepts as well. So microservices is a big concept, guys, okay, that can't be told in 1 or 2 days, okay. But I will make you comfortable in understanding all the microservices different concepts, why we have to incline towards microservices if monolithic is already there, okay. Do that mean that microservice doesn't have any disadvantages? Yeah, it has its own disadvantages, but when we have to go for it, what are the different concepts that we deal with it? So once we understand APIs, microservices, it is for us time to understand the actual implementation and collectively understand the knowledge that we have until this particular point of time, then understand the real-time project knowledge of developer and developer workflow and tester workflow, and how different environments, what happens actually in a real-time project, and then how functional testing happens in a real-time project as well. With all this particular knowledge that we have, I'll make you create the basic how a test plan is there, how to create a test case for the API testing that we have done all these days, and how to proceed with a few of the API test cases, and how to do functional testing or manual testing with this particular knowledge that we acquired until now. Then in the last session, we'll try to understand Jira. Uh, Jira is heavily being used. If you just type Jira share in Google, you'll understand how important is Jira. So it is useful for agile management as well as integrated with uh, bug life cycle as well, developer life cycle, bug life cycle, agile management, so many things it is adding on its own Jira stack, okay. So we'll try to understand Jira. I think it is a subscription. If we create a subscription, it is valid for 15 days, I believe. Once we will try to create a subscription, and we'll try to create user stories, tasks, subtasks, etc., and we'll try to create sprint. Here we'll try to understand what are the different stakeholders in the project teams as well as client teams, like product owner, sprint, scrum master, okay, different business analysts, technical team members, development or technical team members, as well as technical testing team members, okay. How they interact for a particular user story, what is an epic, what is user story, we'll delve in detail, real-time understanding of how to work with Jira, and we'll create a high-level hands-on on user story workflow, uh, very less with particular developer perspective, because we don't have to deal with it, as we already got a high-level knowledge on what happens from developer front. Now we'll focus more on user story workflow, starting from creating an epic, adding user stories on it, and creating tasks, subtasks, raising bugs, in Jira. Okay, if time permits, I'll take another session, but or I will what is it, increase the duration of the session and I'll complete. I don't mind taking 1 or 2 extra sessions also, but knowledge should be imparted clearly to the other person's mind. That is the intention. So with this, I will wrap up today's session. Thanks for your patience. And these are all the different things that we go through in this particular course. Okay, and with that, I'll stop my sharing. And thanks for joining. And if you want to um, uh, continue on this particular course, you please contact with this particular with our Isha team members, and they will guide you through what are your next steps. Okay, thanks very much for joining, and have a nice day and good night if you are in a different time zone. Thank you. I'm stopping the recording now.